The one thing that I keep seeing is that development doesn't equal happiness, or progression doesn't necessarily equal happiness. A lot of people chase the job title, going up the corporate ladder just because that's what they should do, quote unquote. And more frequently than not, that is not what they should do. It's something that you see online that is a very highly curated narrative that someone has put out there. You can't see an influencer putting out a picture of them stunning and looking glam and beautiful, and 5 minutes later they've removed all of that and they are in bed crying. They didn't make it to the event that they said they were going to, but of course you don't see that. So your expectations of what your life should look like are very different from what your life looks like.
Hello and welcome to the Business Growth Show.
I'm John from Octopus Computers.
And I'm Adam from Active Internet Marketing.
This is the show where we sit down with business owners, founders and entrepreneurs from Stamford and the Greater Rutland area.
We discuss their journey, look at their wins and their challenges, and get practical advice that you can apply.
New episodes come out fortnightly, so if you want to stay up to date, drop us a follow or subscribe wherever you're listening.
Welcome, Lucia.
Hello.
Really pleased you could join us today. If you could just tell us who you are and a little bit about your business.
I will. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely being here. Just this off chat conversation that we've been having. So my name is Lucia, as you rightly said, and my business is coaching with Lucia, and I specialise in career happiness, which might sound a little bit like what is that? Because a lot of people talk about career development, career progression, but I think through my many years, I was going to say, without wanting to sound old.
A good bracket.
But, I guess that, through my years in the corporate world, and then when I decided to become a coach, the one thing that I keep seeing is that development doesn't equal happiness, or progression doesn't necessarily equal happiness. A lot of people chase the job title, going up the corporate ladder just because that's what they should do, quote unquote. And more frequently than not, that is not what they should do. So I started reflecting based on my own career as well. And I was like, hang on a minute, why am I chasing that job title? Why do I want to be director, BP, so on and so forth? And at some point, it just hit me that I didn't. And that maybe being in the more sort of political game of things was not what I was after. And, getting my hands dirty, rolling up my sleeve and doing what I was doing was what I enjoyed. I just needed to spice it up a little bit. And that's when, career happiness started to kind of come through and say, what if there is another way? What if there's something else that you can do, a different way of approaching this? And people are just not that aware of it. And so I set up coaching with Lucia.
Excellent. Sounds very interesting. And you're talking in your introduction then about that sort of corporate ladder. But I saw you deal with quite a few different corporate organisations, don't you? So do you find a conflict there, or how does that work?
No, I think my background is in entertainment and marketing, which I love. And to this day, I still love, which brought a level of, challenges in itself. But I think the beauty of working with different companies in different environments. I'm a career development coach for a university. So I help the students kind of figure out what they want to do, how they want to do it. And I equally, I've helped fintech, I've worked with Tropic, I've worked with a lot of entertainment companies Disney, Netflix, Universal. And they always bring something different, but something that it is the same. And I think that's what I love about it, is peeling back the layers and going to the individual. I'm not, as I just said, I'm not too precious about the job title. What I care about is who is the individual behind that, and what makes you tick, and what gets you motivated, and what's going to get you out of bed. And believe it or not, we are not all that different. The same principles apply. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing and who you're doing it with. It's about, okay, how can I extract that little flame from this individual?
Do you find that people pursue the wrong things, or at least set the goals in the wrong area in terms of happiness specifically?
Broadly speaking, yeah. And I think because we've been sort of born and raised to believe that happiness was something that we needed to chase, that happiness was something that we needed to achieve. And quite frequently that was associated with when I get the house, when I get the wife or the husband, when, I get the job. And then you're chasing that dream that somebody has painted for you that was never yours in the first place, but you never question it. You just went with it because that's what you have heard around you. That's what you have seen. Maybe that's what you've seen your peers, your colleagues, your friends, your family doing. And so you believe that's what I have to do myself. And then you start going down that path and then you realize that's not what I want, or like, yeah, fine, I got the house, then what?
So often it can be quite superficial, those things, and then people can still be quite lacking on a deeper level.
Yeah.
I have to ask you this question. Have you ever had somebody that you cannot make happy no matter what you try?
There are people that are a bit more resistant.
Yeah.
But I think, again, it all depends on what your concept of happiness is, right? And again, a lot of people think that happy is the person that walks around always smiling. That's not necessarily the truth. Happiness is a fleeting moment, it's a fleeting emotion. Like any other emotion that you may have, right? Is, in fact, the chemicals that get released in your body for any emotion are about 90 seconds. After that is the story that you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
And you experience happiness is whether you want to sit in happiness. And a lot of people, again, that's the way that your brain works as well, is designed to keep you surviving. And survival is based on, okay, what do I need to defend myself from? There's a lot of people that are a bit more in that space than they are in, rejoicing in the little fleeting moments of happiness. It takes a lot of rewiring, but it can't be done.
There's probably an underappreciated word, but I use the word contentment quite a lot. And I think contentment is a part of happiness. And actually finding contentment can be quite rare for a lot of people. And it's more of, from what you just described, it's more of a longer term disposition, I guess.
Yeah. And contentment is one of my favorite words. There's so many, I think, again, like people think, oh, happiness is this. Happiness is feeling calm, feeling content, joy.
Yeah.
Happiness is a wide, broader spectrum of emotions within that. And sometimes, you wouldn't say I'm happy, but I feel calm.
Yeah.
And that is a good emotion for you.
Yeah.
I suspect most people actually don't know what, it sounds bad, but don't know what happiness is almost. If you ask them to define it, they probably go, oh, it's a lack of stress, as opposed to it being a gain or a positive. It's more a lack of something.
Yeah. People kind of what sadness is because you can see a tear. And people identify happiness with somebody that is just smiling. For me, happiness is the right here and the right now.
Yeah.
And if I am allowed, right now, I'm happy. Why? I'm just here. I'm present. I'm having a conversation. It's good. Am I going to be happy in the next 5 hours? I don't know. But right here, right now, I am. And I'm maximizing that.
So is there a roadmap to happiness? Is there like you want to be happier? Just do these steps. Is it like that? Or is there not?
There is and there isn't. I think the first step on that roadmap to happiness is getting to understand yourself. Because again, kind of like what we were just saying, people think is the body, the holidays, the house, the husband, yada, yada, yada. It ain't. Kind of like I did a course on the science of Wellbeing with Dr. Laurie Santos, who is a teacher in Yale University. Highly recommend it. I think it's still free in Coursera. Lovely platform. And what I learned is that actually the principles of happiness are far from that. It's about, kindness, it's about connection, is about time affluence, feeling that you don't have to run everywhere. It's like, I'm okay. And, it might not be the truth. You look at your diary and it's back-to-back meetings. But if somebody feels that even with those back-to-back meetings, I'm okay, that can lead to happiness, is about getting kind of like your health pillars in check. So we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about sleep, we're talking about movement. Enough movement, again, a lot of people think, I need to do like 3 hours at the gym every day. 10 minutes of a brisk walk will do it. You are releasing all the, happiness hormones, the dose, as we call it, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. 10 minutes of a brisk walk would do it for you. And then presence, put the word that you would in here, can be presence, can be meditation, spirituality, take your pick, because there's a lot of connotations, but it's understanding that it is okay to be in the right here and the right now. And those 5 things, that's the pathway to.
And there, I assume, are tools to help with each one of those.
Yeah.
Good answer. So what if there were, other than, I always refer to it as going for my stupid mental health walk every day, but other than those sort of steps, are there any things which you think people miss out on the most, or any quick wins that people could do as a starting point?
I think the health pillars are very, very much quick wins that we are not necessarily fully aware of. Sleep, I've got 2 little ones. I have a bedtime routine for them, right? I say no screens at a certain point. We dim the lights. We play, relaxing music when we are in bed. We read a story. We set the mood. And then off we go to sleep. Do any of you have a bedtime routine as adults?
Not a good one.
I try to, actually. Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. Well, I try not to eat too close to when I go to bed.
Yep.
And my bedroom environment I've worked hard on, which sounds a bit worrying.
Sounds a little bit intriguing.
I've got
Tell us more.
blackout blinds.
Okay.
Me and my wife recently got a new bed, and that is one of the best investments we've ever made.
Okay.
I've always gone quite cheap previously, but we've got a really good mattress, a much bigger bed. And so I've been very consciously trying to put a better environment. And it's made a huge difference, actually. It really, really has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. I think, again, it's one of those underestimated things. It's like, I'm just going to sleep. But sleep is the time that your body uses to repair and re-nourish. So if you're not giving yourself a good starting point there, then you wake up in the morning, I've got aches and pains and I can't move.
I have an app, actually, and I track my sleep as
Is
well.
that how I found that was more stressful when I had an app?
Well, I do compete with it a little bit.
It does get competitive.
I think, it's only at 82% last night. I need to do better tomorrow.
I end up annoyed at the missus because I say, you snored, you ruined all my sleep tracking. You've kept me up for 2 more hours if I need it.
That is not working.
No, I have one of the snooze band things, where it's blindfold and it plays like rain sounds or something.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, just to drown out the snoring.
Yeah.
But that works. I do a lot of reading before bed.
Yep.
I'm probably not good at routine.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, I definitely appreciate the importance of it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a good night's sleep starts the day before. So it's because, again, it's like, I'm going to do this today. But if you take a look at what you did yesterday, that has almost like a roll-on effect. And, for example, I love coffee, but I learned that if you have any caffeinated drinks after 2 p.m., that you may go to sleep as the same as you would, but the quality of your sleep is not the same, because it affects the way that melatonin is released in your system leading up to bedtime.
Right.
So, kind of like that persists in your bloodstream. And I was like, I'm not a nutritionist expert or a sleep expert. But those are the things that you kind of come across and start hearing and learning about. And I was like, so no caffeinated drinks after 2 p.m. That's interesting.
So that after dinner coffee when you're on the night out is probably not a great shout.
Decaf.
Yeah.
A herbal tea, for example, really good because it's like, that warmth and calmness. Or a decaf, maybe.
Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate. Oh, yes. Yep, I'll take that.
What about, because otherwise we're going to talk about sleep for half an hour. What about sort of goal setting or finding those aims? Because I think a lot of the happiness we talked about here is being present or perhaps being happy with where you are, which is important. How do you then factor goals back into it? Or do you?
Yeah, I do. And I think it is important to have something to look forward to. But again, I go back to understanding yourself, because you need to make sure that the goals that you set in, the things that you want to do, are right for you. If you're chasing somebody else's dream, again, going back to social media, yeah, fine. I can be scrolling and I see the Kardashians who have got a new condo in the Bahamas. Great. But if I am trying to achieve that, and I am Lucia living in Manton Oakham, I might not be that close to the Bahamas. And I might not even want that. So it's about redefining what is that I want, and then setting up the steps and, the different milestones that you have to take and achieve in order to get to where you want to.
Do you find with your clients as well that once they've kind of clarified that and they've got clear direction of where they're heading and where they want to be, do you find that they then need to involve other family members and colleagues and perhaps their supervisor, or perhaps they run a team and it's the other way around? And is that quite an important part of it, to get other people on board as well?
Absolutely. It takes a village. And it does take a village, personally and professionally. I think also the fact that you're sharing those goals, you're owning it and you're making yourself accountable. And if you also share it with people that you trust and you can't rely on, they can keep you accountable. In the nicest way. It's not like, well, John, you told me that you were going to do this and here we are.
Sounds about right.
But it's like, maybe once a week you're going to want to set up a coffee catch up and be like, hey, how is that going?
Yeah.
And is a way of, like, because, human beings, we are not 100% every single day of the year. And there will be days that it's like, you know what, I'm not doing that. Fair enough. But if you have someone that is like, hey, that's why coaching works, because you have a check-in point schedule on a regular basis, and you know that the person sitting in front of you is going to ask you. So even if you don't want to do it for yourself, you're like, oh, I can't show up to this meeting without having done X. So it's almost that little guilt that kicks you into gear.
Yeah.
And then you do it. But absolutely, yes, share it.
And what length of time do you generally work people with? Do you have like a set program, or is it a bit more open-ended, or?
It very much depends on the person. There's people that come in, it's kind of like a more defined objective or something that they want to do. It might take a little bit less. I have clients that have been with me for 3 years, because it's a bit like Maslow's pyramid, right? Or a video game, you unlock a new level and you're like, whoa, what is this going to look like? So it very much depends. Some people, maybe just come for one session and stay for 3 years. Some people get a package of 10 sessions, they complete that, and it's like, thank you, that works.
Excellent. And is the business, if we come back to that for a moment, is it like, is it growing at the moment? Are you finding there's more and more people looking for this and being conscious of a need to find greater happiness?
I think there is. It is. I'm sort of diverting it slightly, because, as I say with my clients, I also find that myself. So there's new levels that get unlocked for me. So I'm currently exploring a couple of different options and courses that will be designed for people kind of like mid to senior level and, entry level. I definitely feel, if we're talking career-wise, the market is moving very rapidly, and is moving more towards a sort of like self-awareness space. I think before, having a CV and perhaps a cover letter and knowing a couple of people will get you a job. That's no longer the case. You need to have those things absolutely top-notch. Also, you need to become really aware of who you are, what you bring to the table, and be confident enough to verbalize all of that, but also have resilience to be in the game, because it's not as easy as, I'll just put a couple of CVs and in a couple of months I'll have a job. There's people that have been in the market for 1 year, 2 years, and still not landing what they want. So I think it's a mixture of resilience, confidence, keeping at it.
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. Please remember to like, give us a rating, give us a follow and subscribe wherever you're listening if you're enjoying the show. Do you see that as sort of a generational shift almost? Like, I feel it's certainly harder maybe out of turn, but for younger people to find work than more mature people at the moment? Is that something you see?
Yeah, I think it is, because the market is slightly saturated, again, depending on the industry and the space that you want to get to. But it is definitely a crowded market. And not only is a crowded market, but I think within the years, like I remember before I left Universal, I was recruiting the next intern. And, that internship is 1 year, it's paid, it's fantastic, and it's a wonderful company to work for. So, of course, you understand the level of applications that you're going to get in terms of the amount of them, but also the quality of them. You have people that are applying for an internship that have been working for at least 2 years, that have an undergraduate degree, that have a master degree. They might be speaking 3 languages. And you look at those applications and you're like, please explain to me why you are applying for an internship. Because you're junior management, but not intern. This is not the level that you should be at. And you get more and more of those. So it very much depends on the hiring manager. In my case, I chose to go for someone that didn't have all that background. Yes, she did have a degree, but she didn't have all those characteristics, but she did have the attitude and the skills of the person that I would want to work with. Marketing, Adam, you know this, is ever-evolving, is fast, is creative, is innovative. It requires of a lot of curiosity, and she definitely showcased all of those. So for some of the hiring managers, she might not have been the clear candidate. For me, it was. She was the only one that showed up to the table having looked at my LinkedIn. She was like, oh, I've seen that you do this, and what is that for you, and what is da-da-da-da? I was like, wow, okay, you get it. You're going to be able to understand the filmmaker when he wants a specific creative, because you're going to ask the questions.
You're putting the base level of work required to get
Exactly, yeah.
I suppose going back to happiness as well, do you think younger people struggle to be happy more at the moment?
Yeah.
Why?
If you cast your mind back to when we were little, a couple of years ago, in my case, you didn't have any of this nonsense of social media. You went to school. Anything that happened at school stayed at school. When you go back home and you are playing with your friends, that's what you do. Not only you're playing with your friends, I'm from Spain, and where I lived was a very sort of safe environment. I am going down to the park, knocking on the door of my friends and saying, can you come and play? And we all spent 3 hours running around like headless chicken. So movement, that was there. Connection, that was there. Finding your tribe. We were all kind to each other because we were friends. Fine, there were some arguments because you're children, that's going to happen. But all the happiness ticking boxes were there. You were not even aware of that, but that's what was happening. What happens now is that we've become a bit more sedentary, I want to say. Everybody, finishes school, goes home, and depending on the age that you're at, definitely, teenagers and beyond, is like, I'm either on PlayStation or I'm on my phone. And they think that they are connecting, but you aren't. That is not true connection. You cannot replace a face-to-face. A laughter, a touch, which again, that releases endorphins, the feel-good hormone. You can't have that on a phone. So you become a bit more insulated, a bit more detached from what's happening. And not only that, your reference point is something that you're seeing online that is a very highly curated narrative that someone has put out there. You can see an influencer putting out a picture of them standing and looking glam and beautiful, and 5 minutes later they removed all of that and they are in bed crying. They didn't make it to the event that they said they were going to, but of course you don't see that. So your expectations of what your life should look like are very different from what your life looks like.
I guess every role model is curated as opposed to being organic.
Yeah.
And technology, from the sound of it, can be quite a barrier sometimes to people finding true happiness.
Yeah.
Certainly what I see in my oldest. He gets home and he just sits on the Xbox headset on, screaming top of his voice.
Mm.
But yeah, when he has friends around, we just kick him out of the house now.
Yeah.
Go play for a bit. But like, when we were young, it was that. Leave the house at 9, come home for tea.
Yeah, there's quite an innocence, I think, that existed, which potentially has been lost. You can see it in all sorts of different areas, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, there's an element, and it is true, like it brings community because, your son, fine, might be playing and he's interacting and doing something, which might have been what we did when we were little, except instead of kicking a ball, you're just playing Fortnite. I can get behind that. But there's the other kind of like the darker side of the web that obviously gets talked about quite a lot. And we've got all these countries now saying, hey, we're going to ban it until they are 16 and so on and so forth. But I do think that is an element of the younger generation feeling a bit less connected. And also, again, if we bring it back to that career space, and I know this because, being there, brilliant. At Universal, you have a coffee, a cafe, right? And the coffee was free. Thank you to M. Night Shyamalan. He decided to fund that. And sometimes you have an event and you have like fruit and your biscuits, or you go to the red carpet. And then, of course, people take pictures of that, you put it. And so the newer generation, that's their expectation. And you get to the office and you're like, but what do you mean that I need to do this Excel thing? No, where's the biscuits? That's what I've been seeing.
I thought I would rub shoulders all day. Why am I?
Yeah, it's like, you're really asking me to work? And bless them, I'm doing them a disservice because they do work and they work hard. But is that mismatch of what I'm seeing and the reality?
And how do you find yourself keeping your own happiness on an even keel? Is that a challenge sometimes? So you can always be ready to absorb what your client is feeling and facing.
There are hard days when, I'm not a saint. And in fact, I always say this to my clients because that can be a label. And labels, we all use them, right? It's something like, when you go networking, you've got your label and your name, right? And for a long, long time, my label was I'm a happy person because that's what people always thought of me. Oh, you're always bubbly, you're always smiling. And yes, that's a label on paper that sounds really good. But it was also a label that prevented me from getting angry, frustrated, from being sad, from feeling apathy, because I felt that I couldn't be all those things because I had to be the happy one. I couldn't be frustrated. I need to be the one always giving you, we can do this. And sometimes I was like, shit, I can't do this. So, but you need to learn. And I draw the parallelism of a radio, right? You turn up the dial up and down and you find the frequency that works for you. And so I've learned to kind of like work with that. And I know that there are days that I feel less like it. I know that there are days that I'm feeling completely with it. But because of all this work, I also know how to do those tiny adjustments that might get me into a better mood. I also know that some days it's like, you know what, I'm not feeling it. And what I need is a day of blanket, sofa, I'm going to cry, or I'm just going to go outside, I'm going to scream and I'm going to punch a pillow. And this is what I need.
Nice. I think I did that yesterday. I thought today's not work. Sat at the desk and sort of went, nah, not today.
I thought you were going to say you're in bed crying.
No, I was on the sofa playing my Xbox instead. Similar thing.
Yeah.
But no, I sat at the screen and sort of went, it's just not happening today. There's just no joy. So I just moved on.
Yeah.
But I think that's really hard for employees to do. We're fortunate, right? We, like the three of us on the table, can do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't.
Yeah.
What do you recommend that they do if they're in these office jobs?
So and I completely get that. There's different exercises that you can do for the nervous system regulation. Without getting too technical, that's roughly what's happening, right? So you're either in a hyper state or hypo state. So the ones that feel themselves in a bit of a itchy feet, like, I really want to get out of here, I can't, that's when you're hyper, right? And that is your nervous system in parasympathetic state. So what that means is that your brain is in alert. It's like, when you're in the building, it's like, that's what's happening. So your body and your brain are feeling something that is not quite adding up. So if you get the feeling of like, I need to get out of here, that is because you've got an excess of energy. So there's a couple of things that you can do. If you feel that the energy is a lot, you can't, like the classic, oh, just calm down. How many times have that worked for you when you were in that state? Zero, niente, 9. So you first need to get rid of that energy, a bit of a nexus. I call it the Taylor Swift. So you shake it off, which sometimes means, you know what, go to a toilet, do a couple of jumping jacks, yeah? Or run on the spot. Like just get your body moving to get that energy out. Or if you can, go for a walk around the block, right? So you just can get that out. Once you've done that, then your nervous system is kind of prepared to calm down. And then what you can do is different things. So I don't know whether you've heard of a square box breathing. So you kind of like take a deep breath in for 4, hold it for 4, release it, take another one, then release it. You do that a couple of times and it tends to calm down. If you are not, a square box kind of person, you can do the 5 senses. So you can just look around you and focus on what are the things that you can see, what are the things that you can touch, you can smell, you can taste.
Here.
Thank you.
Got you.
Thank you very much for that. So that helps you because your brain is not going to be able to do 2 things, focusing on 2 things at the same time. So you can't focus on I'm nervous or I'm anxious and what are the things that are around me. So that can help you do that. For those that find themselves in the other side of the spectrum, which is on hypo, that means that your nervous system needs waking up. You are like frozen, right? So again, going back to the songs, I apply it, let it go. So you do an Elsa, and you can't do the Taylor Swift again. You can shake it off because what your body needs is a bit of a wake up. Again, some people don't want to do that, can't do that. What you can do is have a playlist and have music that really gets you going. Take your pick, or pick your poison, right? For me, for example, if I get like Raw from Katy Perry, that gets me going because I listen to it and it's like, for some people might be some other song. But again, that's what you need to do is waking up your nervous system, say like, come on, we can do this. And again, from that place of alertness, you can feel a little bit more with it. You can be a bit more in the room and then you can start sort of thinking your way around things.
It's interesting that with what you just described, because we hear so much about mental health, don't we? Obviously, everyone's very aware of that. But your physiology is such a big part of it as well, not just your state of mind.
Yeah.
From what you just described.
Yeah. So there's a couple of really good books that I'm going to fail at recalling right now. When the body says no and the body keeps the score. That one of them is from Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a Canadian doctor. He's been around the block for a long, long time. And that's what his work is based on, is the body has memory. Trauma, big T or small t, is stored in your body and it recalls it. So when you're facing a situation that triggers that, you get the backfire of that. And they are really good books, to kind of like get to understand how that works.
Is there a certain type of person or a certain type of company or job role that you've had greater success with or you'd like to work with more than others potentially?
So from an individual perspective, I really love working with that midpoint.
Right.
So people who are either preparing or, wanting to step up in that corporate ladder. So people that are thinking of going for a promotion, and then how to get there, what will I need from that? But also kind of like, entrepreneurs, freelancers, or people, again, in the corporate space that know that something is not quite clicking. They used to love what they were doing. They are not loving it anymore. And they tend to think it's their fault. Those I really love working with because it isn't their fault, but there is some sort of misalignment. So I love working with them to kind of like get that spark back again.
Yeah.
It's quite a magical moment when they were like, oh yeah, it was that. From a company perspective, anyone and everyone, really. I think having been on that space for a long, long time, I think the pressure is on. as an employee, and you really want to bring up your best game. You really want to do your best. Same for the leadership, right? They want to, and it's quite lonely at the top, so they want to do their very best. They want the team to do their very best, and quite frequently it's like, oh, let's do more of. But, all the things that we've talked about, strengths, how can we, based on that, what do you do best, how we can enhance that. I love doing that and kind of like getting teams, functioning and working happily together.
That makes a lot of sense. Definitely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And is there any new strings to your bow, or new services or elements within that you're going to be releasing soon, or is it more of the same?
No, so a couple of things that are in the pipeline. I'm working on them, so I don't have a release yet because they are in the making. But kind of like everything that we've been talking about, I'm condensing into a program. So it's going to be called the Career Happiness Accelerator.
Right.
So it's almost like you get all the highlights of all the things across a period of 6 weeks. 1 day a week. You just had to come up, and then we do the work. You go and do the work in between those sessions. But it is kind of like that sustained ownership and accountability points that we were talking about, with all the learnings from a scientific point of view, somatic point of view. But doing that will get you into that kind of like stepping up that ladder and feeling a bit happier, content, joyful. Insert.
So it's Career Happiness Accelerator.
Yes.
Perfect. And if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find out more?
So they can find me on my website. So that's coachingwithlucia.com. They can contact me on Instagram as well, at coachingwithlucia, or on LinkedIn. Lucia Paredes. You might need to put a link to that because that's a very Spanish name to find.
So, yep.
But yeah, those three, or they can email me, and it's lucia@coachingwithlucia.com.
We'll put them all in the description.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been lovely chatting with you and seeing you again. Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of the Business Growth Show. Thanks for joining us.
We hope it gave you some ideas or inspiration that you can take away and use in your own business.
Don't forget to drop us a like, a follow, and a rating, and hopefully we'll see you soon for the next episode.